Hello, this is Kenny Williamson, and welcome back to another episode of Melchizedek Chronicles. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about the infamous Trump assassination attempt. I know I put out a podcast here the other day about that, and that was right after it happened. Now, since that time, all kinds of very interesting information has come to light. So, in case you haven't heard, and you're out skipping around on podcasts and find this one, this is some of the most up-to-date stuff that I have found, and I've been listening to it and researching it. And, of course, it also has my opinion attached to it, which, you may or may not like. But, so, let's get right into it. Since this has happened, we've come up with some new information about the shooter. Of course, the shooter's name was Thomas Crooks, supposedly. Okay. He was a high school student, or actually had graduated high school. He was only 20, so he'd been out of high school a year or two, I guess a couple of years maybe. And one of the really interesting things that's popped up about this Thomas Crooks is, this shooting happened in this little bitty town of Butler, Pennsylvania. Okay, for some reason, they decided to have a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Well, 1 year ago today, Mr. Thomas Crooks was in a TV commercial, okay, that none other than BlackRock Corporation put on. And it just so happens they put on a commercial about a school teacher in Butler, Pennsylvania. Okay. So BlackRock is some type of an investment firm. Okay. And they're huge and they're all tied up into the government, with all kinds of things. And according to my research, here recently, like a year or so ago, they raised $1 billion from Chinese investors. So they are basically almost owned by China, according to what you can find online. They're very heavily into China. So let's get this straight, okay? Think about this for a second. A big, huge investment company, that's being possibly controlled or highly influenced by China, comes to a little town in the middle of nowhere of Butler, Pennsylvania, and decides to have a TV commercial about one of the school teachers, one of Thomas Crooks' school teachers, and basically in the commercial, it says, we're helping him invest. He's investing, because he's a school teacher. And then lo and behold, in the commercial, there sits the shooter, and turns his head for the camera. So apparently, since that time, they've taken this commercial down because they realize they're highlighting the shooter. So, big Chinese, huge investment company, okay, with all kinds of government contracts and everything else, comes to Butler, Pennsylvania, does a commercial, uses Thomas Crooks in the commercial, and then within a year later, the same Thomas Crooks is in the same town. Here comes President Trump, or former President Trump, to Butler, Pennsylvania. And so this Thomas Crooks, he picks up an AR-15. By the way, they've said now it's an AR-15. Before they were saying an unidentified weapon. They didn't know what it was. But now they're saying first it was an unidentified, then it was an AR-15 style weapon, and now they're just saying it was an AR-15. Okay, so it was shooting 5.56 millimeter is what they're claiming. Of course, 5.56 millimeter is the military version of that ammunition, and they're saying that he bought ammunition at Walmart and he bought 5.56. I don't know that Walmart sells 5.56 because the regular civilian version of that ammunition is .223 caliber. So I don't believe Walmart sells 5.56. Yeah, I could be wrong, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm sure they sell .223 because it's, a popular hunting round or just a shooting round for a rifle. There are lots of rifles that shoot .223 caliber besides an AR-15. Okay, you can get single shot, whatever you want. A varmint rifle to shoot rabbits, whatever you want, you can get 5.56 or 223. So they keep saying 5.56, but either way, I don't believe Walmart sells it. But supposedly the dad went and randomly bought this gun just a few days ago, before this shooting. And so then, or a week, something like that. And so then the son here, Thomas, he decides he's going to take the gun, and he goes and buys some ammunition for this gun. And then he takes it to a local shooting range, which he's a member of, supposedly. And he goes and practices with this gun the day before. So, most 5.56, I say 5.56. Let me re-say that. Most AR-15 guns don't have scopes. Okay, so they said something about him fiddling with a scope at some point. Did it have a scope on it, or was he just using the sights? They haven't really said yet. Okay, and the other thing is when you say it's an AR-15, that's one of those things. AR actually is a brand, and it stands for Armalite. So what they're saying is I guess they're calling it AR-15 style because it's like styled off of an M16. But lots of companies make a 223 caliber, gun that looks that way. So I guess, for general public uses, we could call it an AR-15. It's like if you do any woodworking or have ever used a saw and you say, hey, I'm going to go grab the skill saw, grab me a skill saw. Well, that's what we always did. My dad always called it a skill saw. Well, come to find out, Skill is a name brand. It's actually called a circular saw, and Skill is a name brand. So instead of saying, hey, grab me the circular saw, he'd be like, hey, get a skill saw. So I grew up thinking that it was called a skill saw. That was the kind of saw, but really it's not. It's just a brand. Anyway, so AR-15 is actually an Armalite 15. You can buy a Colt, a Colt version of it, an Anderson version of it. I've got an Anderson version myself. I used to have a Colt version. I've had several different versions of it. So anyway, so he goes out and shoots. Apparently he's not a very good shot or something. So he goes in, and he goes in the beginning, and he has a rangefinder in his hand. So he gets caught going in with a rangefinder. Now, a rangefinder, if you don't know what that is to look through like a little set of binoculars. You push a button, and whatever it is you're looking at, it will tell you the distance to it. Now, people use those for shooting, because if you want to range find this animal out in the field and it's 300 yards away, you need to adjust, how high your gun is pointed in the air, the windage, that kind of stuff, so you can hit whatever you're shooting at. Now, it's not against the law to have a rangefinder, but if you go to a Trump rally or any rally like that where there's no guns permitted, and you hang out acting weird for 20, 30 minutes, and then you walk in with a rangefinder and you start looking at the stage and you start looking at all the people up there with a rangefinder instead of just like a normal pair of binoculars, that is odd. So apparently he did this, and they said, hey, there's a kind of a weird guy over here. He's range finding stuff. Okay, to me that would be a red flag, a pretty big red flag. Supposedly they were going to kind of keep an eye on him. So they kind of sent some officers that direction. He just faded back into the crowd, and nobody saw him again. Well, the next thing you know, he's seen getting up on the roof of this building. Okay, and I forgot what this building was. It's some kind of a glass building, something to do. And supposedly the head over the Secret Service, which some lady named the director of it, named Kimberly, in her statement, she said, the roof was a little too steep, so they couldn't get anybody up there because, the roof had a little bit of a slant to it. So what she says is they decided to secure that building from the inside. Okay. I want you to think about this for a second. This lady who has no business being anything Secret Service, she has no business doing anything, and she's clearly not, going to resign or anything for it. She said she wasn't. She says that the roof is too steep. Now, the Secret Service is on the other roof over there by Trump, and it's just as steep. The building looks the same. This is one of those red iron metal buildings. Okay, it's tan building on the outside, tin, but it's like a red iron building. These things don't have a very steep slope to them. Very shallow. I mean, yeah, I get on roofs all the time because I do refrigeration for a living, and I get on lots of roofs all the time. And that is not a very steep roof. Okay, it's a very shallow style roof. Okay, it's not a flat roof, but it's not a steep roof. So that excuse right there, it doesn't hold water to begin with. And then the fact that you have them on a roof that looks just exactly like it, just right across there, about 100, 200 yards away, doesn't make a lick of sense. And so then she goes on to say, hey, we're going to secure the building from the inside. So literally, the police had a staging area there, some kind of a little thing going on when there's police inside the building. But so they're inside the building, the police. And this kid, a 20-year-old kid, walks up to the building. First, they said he had a ladder. Well, apparently he bought a ladder the day before also, a 5-foot ladder, but he didn't bring it with him, or he didn't take it to the building. So he just bought a ladder. So he must have anticipated using it. But instead, he walks up to the building. It's about a 12-foot tall roof, they said. And somehow he jumps up on a big air conditioner. So this must be like about a 10-ton air conditioner, some big package unit sitting outside, in order to get up high enough to grab a hold of the side of the building, like the guttering or something, and pull himself up and throw himself up on to the roof, okay, with a gun. Now, while he's doing this, there are people watching it. They're reporting it. They're filming it. They've got films from all different angles now where he's literally trying to work his way up the roof, like bear crawl up the roof. People are yelling to the police, saying, look, there's a guy on the roof with a gun, not supposed to be there. They're yelling it to the Secret Service. They do nothing. The police do absolutely nothing at this point, and they allow him to go all the way up and get in position. Now, I don't know how you call that securing a building. Somehow or another, the police are securing the building from the inside. So I can only imagine what these police are thinking, sitting inside the building when there's somebody scuffling along the top of the roof in a bear crawl. Surely they heard it, right? I don't know. Maybe not. But, to be like, hey, what's that noise on the roof? I don't know. That roof's too steep for us to get on it, so, that's why we're down here. What is that up there? Some squirrels? Maybe there's a giant squirrel on the roof, across the roof. Maybe they didn't hear anything. Maybe they were too busy laughing and joking and didn't hear a thing. They didn't see anything. Maybe they didn't hear anything. And then when somebody reports it, then they don't know anything. They're just like, huh? Whoa, I don't know what's going on. Hey, there's a guy on the roof with a gun, huh? What? Come on. What kind of idiots are either there or do you think we are? I tell you what, you drive in here to my hometown and you try to do anything with a gun and somebody reports it, they'll be all over you, okay? No questions asked. Now, once they get you on the ground and probably have your face put in the dirt and you cuffed and stuffed, then they're going to start asking questions, what were you doing there? But you ain't getting away with anything until that point. You see what I'm saying? And so this is actually Secret Service are on site. The ex-president of the United States, 20,000 people are there, and you've got all these police and all these trained Secret Service and Department of Justice, and you're going to let a guy run around with a gun and crawl up on a roof and nobody say a word. Now they're also saying that the Secret Service had him in sight, messing around with a gun, trying to get on the roof for over 20 minutes. From the time they saw him till the time he shot was over 20 minutes, and they did absolutely nothing. Now, how is that possible? In any world, how is that possible? Okay. So now, at some point in time, enough people yelled about this guy on the roof that one of these policemen took notice. So, according to the report, they looked, but they couldn't see him from their perspective. And it's like, the guy's on the roof, okay? We just saw him get on the roof, and he has a gun. Well, we don't see him. Okay? Well, why don't you go look a little closer? So they supposedly did. Of course, they didn't take a ladder or anything, nothing. They have no way to get anything done. So supposedly, 2 policemen involved. One gave the other a boost up to where he could grab like the guttering of the building. So he pulls himself up and sticks his head up to look on the roof, and lo and behold, there's a guy laying there with a gun. And about the time this policeman looks, that's about the time this Thomas Crooks turns and points the gun at the policeman's head. So the policeman tries to duck down and loses his grip and falls, according to the report, 8 feet. Okay, falls 8 feet and even sprains his ankle, hurts his ankle in some way. So I don't know exactly how long it was after that before he decided to start shooting at Trump. But you see all the flaws in this, right? I mean, they're watching him, they're following him, they know about him. He's got a rangefinder. Next thing you know, he's on the roof. And of course, he's supposedly got some type of remote control triggering device in his pocket and a possible couple of different bombs in his car. And they're saying they don't know if it's a real bomb or if it would actually have worked. It could have just been a diversion. So I'm not really sure what this guy was thinking or what people think he's thinking, but they went to his workplace. He works apparently a nursing home and as a dietitian. So I guess he helps, cook food for elderly people in a home. And he specifically asked for work off that day. And he told his other coworkers and stuff, well, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. I need to take a personal day today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, on a Sunday. So did he really think he was coming back or what? That's a good question. But I tell you what, it's like I said before, you take a look at the picture of this kid. He's not all there. Okay, it doesn't take a psychologist to figure out that when you look at this kid in the face, he looks weird. Okay, he's very reminiscent of these other, I'm using air quotes here, so-called shooters, that have been supposedly shooting these places up. They always look the same. These young, weird-looking, greasy kids that are supposedly not very popular and nobody likes and everybody makes fun of, but nobody really knows that much about them. And they're usually always going to see a doctor, and they're usually always on some type of drug, for either depression or anxiety, or they won't really release what they're on, but they're always seeing a doctor, and they're taking medication for some type of mental problem. And just so happens it fits the same. It's ridiculous. You just look at the kid. It's like, okay, here comes a rally, or here comes some big group of people. We've got some weird kid in the area. Right before the rally, or whatever it is, he all of a sudden obtains some high-powered weapons somehow, some way. Don't he have the money? Or this one was legally bought, but he borrowed it, or he stole it. He also has supposedly body armor with him, but doesn't use it. So it's kind of like one of the other shooters that's loaded up with body armor and expensive guns and all kinds of stuff, but no explanation where he gets any of this stuff. He looks the same. Looks like there's something not quite right, and then, of course, on medication, seeing a doctor. Just so happens this kid here, of course, they haven't come out to say if he's seeing a doctor yet, but, just so happens he's right there at the same place, the rally. messing around with BlackRock, all of a sudden, he's on the roof or no. How much do you want to bet if this is if this is even true? Obviously, I guess they shot him in the head. They got a picture of it. People saw it. I would be willing to bet that the kid is probably fits all that right stuff. He's bullied. He's this. He's that. And so he goes to the doctor or whatever he's doing. And he's probably telling him about how he's bullied and this and this and that. And so he started on some regimen of drugs. I don't know what. And there's probably drugs, some kind of hypnosis, and God knows what else is involved in what they're doing. And they're like, hey, we found us one. We got us another one. Well, what do you got? We got us another kid that's easy to manipulate, easy to control, feed him a few drugs, tell him what to do, and he'll basically be our little Manchurian candidate. And that's exactly what he'll be. He'll be a Manchurian candidate. So then, when we're ready to use him, all we got to say is go pull the trigger. And he will. So let's get him, let's get him ready. Let's groom him here. Let's prep him. Make sure he's on enough drugs. Get his stuff all in a row. Make sure he can pull the trigger, get him in a gun club, get him shooting, get him doing this, get him doing that. He looks like a spaced out weirdo. That's okay. He'll blend right in this crowd right here and then send him on his mission. Now, what are we going to tell the kid? Oh, hey, don't worry. They probably told him, look, this is a test. You're working for us. You're working for the Secret Service. You are a Secret Service agent. Okay. You're an agent. Go up on the roof, and look for trouble. Or here's a gun. Go up on the roof. Now, we're going to do a threat assessment here, and we want you to help us because you're with us, see? Go up and look over that direction and start shooting. Don't worry. You're not going to hit anybody. Nobody's going to get hurt, but we're just going to run a test here. Don't worry. You'll be okay. You'll be back at work tomorrow telling all your friends about it. And so what the first thing they do is shoot him in the head, blow his head off. Did he really think he was going back to work the next day? I mean, how crazy would you have to be to think, hey, I'm going to go try to assassinate somebody with police and Secret Service swarming the area, but I'm going to tell everybody, hey, I'll be back at work tomorrow. So did he believe it? Was he completely nuts, or was he set up? I don't know. I really don't know. But I do know, as far as Trump is concerned, did he get shot? Okay, they say he did. I watch people and listen to people, and they are very, very passionate that he did get shot. Okay? I have talked to people who don't believe he got shot. They believe that it's an act, that lots of this was put on simply to help usher in the new 2025 agenda, okay, which they talk about. And so this new 2025 agenda has to do with a Republican deal. And a lot of the stuff they have in this agenda is good. It's put out by a thing called the Heritage League. You can look into it. They've got lots of stuff that they need to do. And they basically give advice to what needs to be done in 2025. And I agree with about 99% of it. I mean, they want to deregulate people. They want to deregulate the EPA and all kinds of stuff, all this overreach where the EPA is trying to, outlaw all refrigerants now, where you have to, and a lot of people don't know this, they're coming out with a new refrigerant. They're mandating people to put in, or they're mandating for all AC units. And the problem is it's highly flammable. It supposedly doesn't hurt the environment, but it does hurt the occupants if it leaks into the room and it blows up. And so now they're wanting to put, leak detectors in the ductwork that detect flammable, and all kinds of stuff. Hey, man, that sounds really good on paper, but guess what? Instead of, getting a normal air conditioner installed in your house, now it's like, 3 times more. It's like 3 times more to get the thing installed because it has to have all these safety features. It has to have this, it has to have that. Not only that, it's full of flammable gas. So if it leaks out into your house, well, it can kill you. But that's okay. You can die, see? You're not important. The ozone is. The ozone's important. The climate's important. The big moneymaker, climate change. So they're trying to get all that stuff deregulated. They're trying to come in and literally, it's the most stupidest thing you've ever seen. So, and that's the only way you can explain it is government. They need to deregulate it. The same as this government going on here. All this stuff is going on, but nobody takes any responsibility. It's nobody's fault. It's sure not this director of the Secret Service fault. She says, the buck stops here. The buck stops with me. Well, are you going to resign? No. Are you going to change anything? No. Well, we'll look and see. So the buck stops with you, but nothing changes, huh? You're not getting fired. You're not even getting in trouble. So, way too much red tape, way too much stuff the government's trying to do. So this Agenda 2025, wants to deregulate a bunch of stuff and usher in Republican deal. And so we've got Trump now was already, obviously going to be the choice. And now he's been shot, supposedly, in the ear. And, you've got people saying, you've got radicals either direction, but you've got people saying that Trump, was put there by God. God put him up there. God saved him. If it wasn't for God, he'd have his head blown off. But God saved him with just a little nick on the ear because God is going to use him. And now they're trying to put God in the picture with Trump. And now they're saying, that, he's like a savior and he's even had to shed his blood for the cause, kind of like Jesus Christ had to shed his blood. So some of these people are getting like, yeah, Trump, and so they'll just do anything he says. It's like, oh man, now he was almost assassinated. They asked him the other day about, abortion and stuff, and he's not saying he's against abortion. He's against it when the baby comes out of the womb and is laying on the table. You can't stab it to death like they want to do in other places. But he's still going to allow it. He's doing lots of things that are against biblical, okay, that Jesus Christ and God is not going to stand behind. So now if he was to get up there and say he was against all this different stuff and wanted to do something biblically, I can maybe see that. But at this point, I can't say he's a savior like some people are trying to claim. He is just a man, and he's got lots of problems. Now, is he better than the radical left? Well, yes, in some ways. But you have to understand is, it was the radical left that pushed a lot of these shots on you and tried to mandate it and tried to make it to where you have to take it. And then they got the businesses in on it saying, well, if you don't take it, you're fired. So they want you to take it. They developed it. They developed the problem to begin with. They developed the disease. They made the disease worse. Okay. We all know that. Fauci and all them did it. They made it worse than what it was. Then they released it on everybody on purpose. And then they had the savior right here in a little bottle to give it to you. Now, the pharmaceutical companies who had already filed for patents on this way before, they made billions and billions of dollars. And guys like Fauci, well, guess what? They've all got a little stock option in those things, and they get kickbacks. So now they're all multimillionaires, probably billionaires themselves. So they tell everybody to take it. They're getting paid huge amounts of money to do it. And I would be willing to bet that they didn't take it themselves. Oh, no. Because, the very first thing they did when they rolled out these vaccines is all of the bigwigs like Congress and everybody, they're all exempt. Immediately exempt. Why do you think that is? Do people not realize that the guys pushing this junk aren't taking it themselves and even admit it? They had the one guy over there, he's like the big CEO. They said, this is a year into it. Well, you've taken the vaccines, right? Oh no. Why not? Well, I just, I want to make sure that everybody else gets it first. I would rather die by not taking it than risk somebody not getting their vaccine. Really? You can have mine. I know lots of people you can have. Okay, just take it. You can take mine and a whole bunch of other people's. You can take every dose for me. Just go ahead and take it. But see, they didn't. And they use every excuse in the book. Even old Bill Gates, same way. My kids have never been vaccinated, and they never will be. And I don't get vaccinations, and this and that. But now I'm selling you one, though, and you need to take it. You need to take it no matter what, or you're a bad person. But I'm not going to take it, see, because I'm Bill Gates. I don't have to. But you do. So these are the same people doing this. Okay? They've got this bizarre agenda, a new world order agenda going on. And, is God allowing it? Yes, God is clearly allowing it. Well, we know God's allowing it. It's in the Bible. We know how it's going to end. If you're a Christian, you know how this is going to end. And it's going to get progressively worse until the end. Okay? It doesn't get any better. The Bible predicts worse and worse and worse and worse. Well, we're in the worst. We're in bad right now, and it's probably going to get worse. So whether Trump gets it or whoever gets it, but what I was going to say about that vaccine is keep in mind, Trump was pushing that too. Okay. Excuse me. They have video, which I've seen, where he was at his rallies and he brings up that vaccine. He's like, and you need to go get it. And people are like, boo. A lot of people were booing it. And he's like, oh, I know, free speech and everything and right to choose, blah, blah, blah. But I got it, and you need to go get it. So he's pushing it too. It's not like he stood up there and said, hey, if you don't want it, don't take it. He didn't say anything like that. He was pushing it the same as Biden is pushing it. All of Hollywood is pushing it. Every one of the actors and actresses are pushing it. So I'm going to tell you right now, if Hollywood is telling you to do it, and all of the government and all the news, all the fake Mockingbird media news is telling you to do it, I'm going to tell you right now, you better not do it. Okay? If they want you to do it, you'd be a fool to do it. Okay? Because number one, Hollywood, or Hellywood as we call it, is nothing but filth and fornication, debauchery, and they all worship the devil, and they all admit it. Almost every one of them has an admission story to where they do it. And I've got a podcast on that, and you can listen to it. There's singers, actors, all of them. At some point, they've been interviewed, and they mention worshiping the devil or having to do things about worshiping the devil. Or they have to, a spirit comes inside of them. And it's just one thing after another. Everything they're doing over there is demonic. On their little deal where they have all their little global, the Golden Globe, where they all award themselves stuff because they're so precious in their own sight. They really think they're something. So they've got to award themselves all these, things for acting like filthy idiots in movies, and talking filthy and doing stuff you could never do. They've got to award themselves awards for that. Well, right on the door is all kinds of demonic symbols and stuff from Egypt, pagan Egypt, and all kinds of other stuff. Everything they do is pagan. Okay? And you're going to sit there and listen to these fools? You're going to sit there and listen to some Hollywood actor tell you need to go get medicine for a disease you don't have, or else? And they're going to sit there and tell you that they're doing it? We don't know that they're doing it or not. It's kind of like that one time, I remember it was Alyssa Milano. When I was growing up, she was popular, and I thought something of her. Come to find out, she's a flaming liberal devil worshiper. Okay, so we know that now. So she's on there telling people, how dare you not wear your masks? You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You're going to kill somebody. And she's wearing her mask, but keep in mind, her mask was crocheted. She literally had on a mask that was crocheted, okay, with giant holes in it. Crocheted. You could see her mouth. And that's a mask. You need to wear your mask. Do you know how ignorant that is? How many people watch that and it's like, oh, if Alyssa Milano does it, I better do it. She's wearing a crocheted mask that you can see her lips. You're seriously going to tell me that's going to do something? You're that stupid. Or, Arnold Schwarzenegger gets on there, who I used to like his movies, and because I thought, oh, he's a big bodybuilder. I want to be like him someday. This is when I was a child. And it's like, here he is on there, flaming liberal. You don't deserve any freedom. You have to go take that vaccine right now. You don't deserve to live. I mean, stuff like that. Really? Are you even a U.S. citizen? I mean, seriously, you've been in America from Austria or something for what, 50, 60 years, and you still have that accent? Okay, that's called acting. It's fake. You don't really have an accent like that. It would be wore off by now. Okay? It's fake, and because you're a fake Hollywood actor. You're nothing but a fake and a fraud. You don't know anything. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's all for smoke and mirrors, all for show. Yeah. So these are the same people telling you to do this stuff. Trump, keep in mind, is also an actor. He had his own TV show. He's an actor. Now, Trump was on some of the World Wrestling, like the WWF or whatever they call it now, the World Wrestling Federation. He was on some of the shows, and supposedly wrestling and fighting somebody. And he did the same thing in there. He holds his hand up in the air with his fist. And he's like, yeah. The same thing you did on this one, holds his hand up in the air and says, fight, 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 with blood coming off his face. And of course, these fake wrestlers, they do the same thing. They bend down and they either scratch their forehead or they've got a razor blade stuck somewhere and they'll cut themselves and pretend that they've been hit and their blood's coming down their forehead, or it's a fake blood capsule. So they'll get hit in the head with a metal chair, and then they'll bend down, and next thing you know, there's blood pouring from their head. It's not real blood. Either that or they've cut themselves on purpose. And they're out there wrestling going, ah. Okay, well, Trump was in on that too, part of it. I mean, he was there. He did the same thing, not necessarily with the blood. All I'm saying is they can do that. That's not unheard of. That's acting. Okay? It's acting. Now, did Trump do that? I don't know. Is this all a ploy to usher him in as a new savior, to usher in 2025? I don't know. Some people think that. I'm not saying necessarily that I think that, okay? Don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying I 100% believe that. I'm just throwing out several different things, possibilities. Okay? I mean, we're doing a truth seekers ministry thing here, and the whole point of this is to get to the truth. Now, sometimes the truth hurts, and sometimes we don't want to believe the truth. I've been slapped with the truth many times when it's like, oh, well, it sure hurts a lot more than being kissed with a lie. Okay, would you rather be kissed with a lie or slapped with the truth? All I'm saying is Trump is no angel of any kind, and he is no savior or messiah. Okay, he is a man, and he's trying to get elected. And, I believe that there's other people running the show, okay? And the president themselves are more or less a headpiece. They're just they're a puppet put up there on display. There are other people calling most of the shots. So who are these people? Well, that's the whole cabal, as they call it, this new world order. But for example, right now, we know Biden's not doing anything. I mean, and I know a lot of people hate Biden, okay? They hate him because he's a Democrat. And, of course, yes, he is a liar. He's a thief. And, his daughter's diary came out, and apparently, he's a child molester as well. and his son is bad or worse. So we know that. He's a career politician and a career criminal. He's been taking bribes and stuff for favors for years. Okay, so that's what most of them are doing, right? So now he's an 80-year-old man. Okay, he's an old man who clearly has dementia and possibly some other diseases. So he is an old man. He clearly has dementia. You can watch him speak. He doesn't know what he's saying most of the time. He makes up lies and stories constantly. I don't know if he believes them, but if you go back and listen to his wild stories about children rubbing his legs, cockroaches, all the bizarre stories that he has, and then he'll say, "Yeah, I was there," blah blah blah, and come to find out he never was. So he's a compulsive liar, and he's got dementia. Well, and he's had, I don't know how many thousands of dollars worth of facial work done, because, go take a look at him back when he was with Obama and take a look at him now. Compare the two pictures side by side. He doesn't even look like the same man. Okay, I guess he is. I don't know. If he is, he's had, I don't know how much reconstructive surgery done. Now, when did he have this stuff done? I don't know. But his face is completely stretched, completely different. He's got a stretched out face. His face looks completely different. His eyes look different. The bags under his eyes, his chin, everything has changed. He still has the same voice, but he looks like a different man. And if you were to compare the older pictures, which he should look worse than that, he looks like a completely different person. So I don't even know if it's the same guy. Okay? Who knows, really? But as the kind of stuff they're doing over there, God only knows, because I sure don't know. But either way, whatever they have up there, this freak of nature they have up there pretending he's the president, he can't even hardly speak. He can't walk. He can't do anything. So we know he's not making any real decisions. Somebody else has to be making those decisions. Who are they? Who's making the decisions? Because, he can't do it. So, somebody else is running the show. The agenda is the same, one world government. The Bible even talks about that. We're trying to get down to a beast system where everything is digital, probably. Everything goes by a number, a mark, and you're not going to buy or sell without it. So we have to get to that point. So Donald Trump is another piece of the puzzle getting us to that point, because we're not getting out of it. The Bible's already got it all spelled out. It's all there for the world to see in black and white. So is this real? Is this whole shooting thing real? I don't know. You tell me. You tell me what you think. Because if it's real, and let's say he's a puppet too. I'm sure he is. He's a mouthpiece for somebody. He's a puppet. Trump, I'm talking about. But he really is trying this because, they can put any puppet they want up there, let's say. Did they really try to kill him? Well, did this kid really try to kill him? If that's the case, this kid was probably set up, and this is another one of those deep state deals, same as all the others, where they come in and claim this happened. It never adds up. I guess this time around they weren't like they did in the Las Vegas shooting. They mentioned the Las Vegas shooting, and some guy that did it, people on the ground said before the shooting that the security and the police went and locked all the exits. They were locked in. And then whenever they said that there were people on the ground doing the shooting with pistols and stuff, they were called liars. People recorded it. All the phones were immediately confiscated so nobody could see it, and they were threatened. And anybody that did come out with it either died or turned up dead before. So obviously what they claim happened did not really happen. You listen to the recordings, you can hear a belt-fed rifle, like a belt-fed gun, like boop, 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 boop. You can tell it's belt-fed, so they fed in a fake recording, because this guy don't have a belt-fed machine gun. Nobody can access that. Everything about it's fake. So we don't know if people really got killed. If they really went in there and killed some people, they probably did, but this guy didn't do it. Just kind of like this, a guy got killed. Trump didn't get killed, but somebody got killed. Well, if that's the case, then it really happened, obviously. But did this kid do it all on his own, just randomly? I'm sure no. And if he did, and the police were warned, and everybody was warned, and they were watching him for 20 minutes, I mean, you talk about some incompetence. They should be fired, and they should be sued. I mean, if they shot my friend or my dad or whoever, in the deal, and they're sitting there watching this kid with a gun and nobody does anything about it, shouldn't they be liable, some kind of civil lawsuit, and say, hey, you watched it and you didn't even do your job? Why didn't you shoot the guy? The guy's climbing on the roof with a gun and going to start spraying bullets into the crowd, and you don't do anything about it? Well, let's sue you then. Let's put you in jail and sue you. Yeah, I mean, isn't that fair? I don't know. But like I said, I just want the truth to come out, and I think if you read between the lines, the truth will eventually come out. Now, it's not going to be what you're going to hear on mainstream media, on the news. Of course, like we know, the news is fake. It's fake news, and it's propaganda, and it's mockingbird media. And you can look at many, many videos, and like something comes out, they all say the same thing. They all repeating themselves. So you can't believe a word they say either, because they just repeat whatever they're told to say. There is no journalism involved. They're not actually trying to find out the truth. They just repeat what they're told. And so somebody say, hey, say this, 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 and this, and that's what they say. So you'll have to look a little further, dig a little deeper to find out the actual truth. But that's what I'm looking for, is the truth. And so that's what I'm putting out here, is I'm putting out a couple of different ideas just to think about. So when you think about this stuff, I want you to remove all emotion. Don't think about, the person or anything. Remove emotion and look at everything logically. Think about what's being done and what's being said, and can that really happen? Can that really happen? Could that happen in your hometown? Can people get away with this stuff? Or is it all fake? Is it acting? You see what I mean? So you just got to kind of remove your emotions from it, take a good hard look, step back and say, okay, is this real? Could this have happened, or could this have happened? Maybe it is. Maybe Trump literally is a victim of this and he was almost killed. Maybe he was in on it too, and he knew exactly what it was, and he either cut his ear or it's fake blood. Maybe. He sure is praising the Secret Service an awful lot, how good of a job they've done. They did such a good job. Well, come to find out, seeing what they've done supposedly here, how could anybody praise them? Nobody online is praising them. Everybody's saying how corrupt and ridiculous it is. And now they've got the FBI doing supposedly doing all the investigating, the same FBI that's trying to put Trump behind bars right now. So would you trust that? I mean, if you were Trump, would you go on and say how good of a job they're all doing and they're all wonderful now, when they're literally trying to put you in prison and charge you with like 34 felonies? I mean, the same people? Doesn't really add up. It doesn't add up to me anyway. In my personal opinion, it doesn't add up. So, however, I don't know for sure. I don't know exactly what's happening. I get my information just like everybody else, but I dig a little deeper and I pray about it. I pray, and this is one thing you should do. You should get saved if you're not, and you should pray to God for discernment. Pray that He shows you the truth and opens your eyes to what's really going on. And if you're saved, and if you do that and God does it for you, then you start to see things through a different light. Then just because it's on the news and it says Trump got shot in the ear, that doesn't really mean anything, because you can't believe a word the news says. Okay? They just opens your eyes, makes you think a little more. Okay? Shows you some truth. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show. We've got some more stuff coming up soon. Going to talk about a few things coming up here real soon. So stay tuned. I hope you liked it, enjoyed it. Give us an email. Let me know what you think. You can contact us through the website, KennyWilliamson.com. Go check that website out and Follow some of the links on there if you want to. Let us know what you think. If you have any suggestions or anything like that, want me to talk about anything or any questions, just give me an email. You can get in contact with me right there on the website. So thanks again for listening. This is Kenny Williamson signing off. God bless you.